Alright, sorry about that, guys. It's been a long time since I've made a YouTube video like this. But
I'm back.
So, today we're going to be talking about my experience with the ACT. And this is from a popular request on my Instagram, @SkyFreestyles. Make sure to follow and subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, so I think today I'm going to talk mainly about my experiencing the ACT and some overall general tips. And if you guys want a more specific tips for each individual section, make sure to comment down below, like the video, so I know, and I'll make that video for sure. Alright, so let's start by talking about Alright, so I guess I'll start off by talking about my personal experience taking the ACT. So I took it one time at the beginning of my junior year, the September test date, and I ended up getting a 35, which I was really happy with. And my score breakdowns were 34 on grammar, 36 on math, 35 on reading, and 35 on science, and 8 on the essay. But the essay, I would say that shouldn't be your main focus. From what I've heard, colleges don't really value the ACT essay. They more care about your college essays, and they use that to determine your writing skills. Also, before anyone assumes I'm a natural at taking the ACT, I really am not. The first time I took the ACT, I got a 28-ish, around that range, 26 to 29, somewhere in there. And I was able to increase that by about 9 points, all the way up to a 35. And I think almost anyone can make this increase. It just takes the right way of studying and determination and giving yourself ample time to do so. Yeah, so without further ado, I'm going to get into my 4 major tips that I think really were major factors in allowing me to perform so well on the test.
Psych!
Alright, so actually before I get into the 4 specific tips, I'm going to quickly talk about the general strategy I recommend you to take when studying for the ACT. And that is to not go out and buy a bunch of prep books or anything like that. I'm going to keep it real. All you need to do is go online and take a bunch of practice tests that the ACT releases. And I'll get into more details on how to take them, what things to look for, how to approach them, what environment to put yourself in the rest of the tips. So yeah, I'll get to that. My first tip is to give yourself ample time in order to study for the ACT. So me personally, I give myself 8 weeks to study for the ACT, from mid-summer point to the September test date. And I think what this does is it allows you to efficiently identify your starting point and work on that gradually over time, and you don't feel time pressured, stressed, or any of that, because you can do it one bit of a piece at a time. Once every week you can focus on another topic, rather than if you start maybe 4 weeks before or 2 weeks before, you're going to be spending almost every day doing a new topic or focusing on a new weakness. And don't get me wrong, a lot of students end up excelling on the ACT even with no studying at all, or maybe they took 1 or 2 practice tests. But your chances of succeeding on the ACT increases tenfold if you give yourself ample time to study. Secondly, this kind of goes along with my first tip. Giving yourself ample time to study is useless if you don't follow a specific schedule. Yeah, personally, I did at least 1 or 2 practice tests every week leading up to the ACT. That way, I always knew where I was at score-wise, and I always knew how much I needed to improve by until the actual date. And yeah, on a side note, when taking practice tests, make sure to put yourself in a test-like environment. So get rid of all distractions, and make sure to time yourself as if you were actually taking a test. That way you can get a really accurate representation of what you need to improve. My third, and what I believe is the most essential thing you need to do in order to excel on the ACT, is not only take practice tests, but really analyze them after you do so. So even if you got like a question right, keep track of all the questions you weren't 100% sure about. And then after you finish your test, go back and look at each question that you were not 100% certain about, and make sure you find out and really understand why the correct answer is the correct answer. And the reason for this is the ACT, their test questions, they always use similar test questions as they used in the past. Especially in sections such as grammar, science, a lot of times you can recognize similar question patterns and similar answer patterns. And just by going over the questions thoroughly after you're done, you'll be able to subconsciously recognize those when you're taking the actual test. Lastly, my fourth piece of advice is to really identify your weaknesses early. So after your first 1 or 2 practice tests, you should sit down and really analyze what subjects are your weak points. So for example, let's say you weren't doing so well in the grammar section. So not only gear your focus more towards the grammar section, but also figure out what certain aspects of grammar are you lacking. For example, let's say you're not really sure when to use a semicolon versus a comma. Then make sure to jot that down and do some research online, or do whatever you have to do to figure out the difference between a semicolon and a comma. Yeah, guys, so I think that about wraps it up for my advice when studying for the ACT. So just a quick recap. Number 1, make sure to give yourself ample time to study. Number 2, make sure to keep a regular schedule, study efficiently. Number 3, probably the most important, make sure to thoroughly go over your ACT tests after you take them. Don't just grade them and throw them away in the bin. Make sure to actually look over them and make sure you know why the right answers are right. Yeah, and number 4, make sure to really figure out your weaknesses early on and really analyze them and improve on them. And yeah, so don't forget, if you guys want any other videos, comment down below, drop a like, and see you guys next time.